Hey everyone, just before we get started with today's episode, I would just like to give a huge thanks to all of the fire departments and emergency services from our province and from wherever you came from in the world to help us fight these wildfires. And our prayers and thoughts go out to everybody who was displaced and evacuated. And we know that there have been a lot of heroes in this situation. Our thoughts and prayers are with all of you. And thank you again very much for helping us. And now we will continue on with the show. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 4. The votes are in, and this episode is going to be about types of witches.
Cool.
Thank you, everybody that voted. And for those of you that did vote for psychic mediums, stay tuned because that will be our topic for episode 5. So Sean is here with me, obviously, as he has already chimed in with a cool.
Hello, once again.
Before I get started, I would just like to say thank you to everyone for listening and following along. I've had some great support, some wonderful emails and texts, and I just want to say how grateful I am for your support and your encouragement and your kind words. It's very much appreciated. So let's chat about types of witches. What type of witch are you? Or what type of witch do you align with? First of all, you don't need to put yourself into any category. Witchcraft is highly individualized and not everyone feels comfortable putting themselves into a category. Some witches don't even want to be called witches.
We have found the witch! May we burn her? Burn her!
How do you know she is a witch?
She looks like one!
Bring her forward.
They dressed me up like this.
And
And this isn't my nose, it's a false one.
Will?
Well, we did do the nose.
The nose?
And the hat. But she's a witch!
Whatever you want to choose for yourself and your journey is absolutely fine. And again, there is no wrong way or right way to do things. You just do you. So let's start at the beginning before we really start to break things down. You can be a solitary witch or a coven witch. So solitary, obviously, as the name states, is someone who practices the craft alone, while a coven witch is someone who practices within a group of other witches who combine their spell work and join in ceremonies and rituals, often led by one who is the high priestess of the coven. Again, don't do anything you aren't comfortable doing and never put yourself in harm's way. So let's talk about the different types of witches, some of the different types of witches, because there are a lot of categories. So you may be a hereditary witch following in the line and pathway of your family and ancestors, using time-honored spells and rituals handed down through the family from years and years. My family is said to have witches on both my mom and my dad's side, although even though it is rumored to be so, I haven't been given any solid proof of that. So I'm the only one who has come out publicly, although I do know of another family member very interested in the craft. Actually, 2 family members. Maybe 3. So yeah, there's a few of us.
But there might be a reason why past family members didn't come out with it.
Well, because they probably didn't want to be burned at the stake.
Yeah, that's kind of a thing.
Yeah.
What a day! They found out I was a witch, so I had to leave my family. Really? So you finally left Durwood. His name is Homer.
We live in a very, I'm not going to say religious community, but religion is obviously prominent. I mean, I grew up in a very prominent Christian family, and that's that's what you did. I mean, you know, every Sunday you went to church or to Sunday school, and
It's the way it was.
it's the way it was. And, you know, you didn't come out and say, oh, well, I'm not going to church because, you know, I'm your little witch. So you just went.
That sort of thing seems to be getting better as time goes on.
Well, it is. And unfortunately, even though I practice witchcraft, raised again in a Christian family, I do find it very disheartening to see a lot of churches closing their doors, selling their properties. I mean, church going on Sundays is not the tradition that it used to be. Obviously, life is busy, things have changed in the world, and it's just not at the forefront of family traditions anymore like it was when we were growing up. And I respect other religions. So when you see any other religion having to close their doors because they don't have the support, that's very unfortunate. And for me, because I practice as a solitary, I'm not dependent on, you know, I practice in my own way. I'm not dependent on having the collection plates and you know, people doing fundraisers and coming together as a group to pay for a building and heat and lights and, you know, obviously the wage of your priest or your minister. I mean, they have to be paid for what they do. And so, yeah, anyways, a little off topic,
But yeah.
a little down the pathway.
But everybody deserves to believe and follow whatever they believe and follow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So getting back to types of witches, you might be a crystal witch. Your name doesn't have to be Crystal, but that would be really cool if it was. Crystal witches work with, obviously, crystals, gems and stones. They practice crystal magic and are very educated in the properties and the uses of each one. Cosmic witches are those who have an affinity for stargazing, astronomy, and astrology, focus on the lunar activities, very knowledgeable with the star signs and birth charts.
That's cool.
Yes, it is. Moving on to the next one is the Green Witch. Focused on nature and healing, using what they can based from nature for their rituals and their magic work. They respect nature above all else.
Could that be you?
Well, we'll get to me towards the end.
Oh, okay.
A hedge witch, closely associated with being a green witch, but not completely focused on using everything in nature. Head witches are generally solitary practitioners and develop their own spells and rituals and their own magic work. Most oftentimes keeping things basic and actually may even be a minimalist in their own life. A gray witch, somewhere in between white magic and black magic. They're not afraid to perform curses and hexes if they feel that the need arises. You might be drawn a bit more to the darker arts. So the next three types of witches I'm going to put together only because there are a lot of similarities. So you've got your kitchen witch, your house witch, and your hearth witch. Primarily, these witches work by infusing magic into their cooking, their home, and their housework. So yeah, they're all very, very closely related. Obviously, you know, the differences obviously are in the name, your kitchen, your house, and your hearth. So, again, very closely related. Baby witch. I have to say, I'm not a fan of this term. I don't know why. It just kind of gets on my nerves a little bit. We all have to start somewhere. So obviously, these are people who have decided to just start the craft, are new to the craft, and are just learning.
Now remember, not one word about Tabitha being a... you know, the word's witch, dear.
I'm not really sure what term I would coin for that witch, but baby witches out there, so...
Beginner witch?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I've heard baby shark so much that I don't know. I just don't like the term. I don't know.
Cue the sound bit.
Yeah, cue the sound bit. Baby shark, doo 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 doo.
Baby shark, doo 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 doo. Baby shark, doo 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 doo. Baby shark.
Okay, so actually, kind of funny. Again, segue. It's witchcraft. What can I say? So
It's
we're going to go
magic.
to the sea witch. So obviously a sea witch is someone who is deeply attuned to the ocean, likely to use water magic and focus a lot on moon phases because they are related to the tides. And they use things found on beaches in their magic, seashells, driftwood. What else do you find? Little pebbles, little stones, sand. Yeah. So a ceremonial witch is probably somebody who practices in a coven. It's somebody who practices with elaborate ceremonies and rituals. A fey witch focused on working with fairies and fairy magic. An urban witch is someone who is very modern, very city-oriented. And it's funny because I don't like the term baby witch, but they use texting for hexting.
That's cool.
Yeah, I kind of like that. So yeah, very much in tune with change as you're moving forward, digital age, techno age. So next on my list of witches is a divination witch. A divination witch is someone who uses divination. Palmistry, tea readings, scrying, pendulums, oracle cards, tarot cards, all sorts of types of divination out there, and they're very knowledgeable in those aspects of the craft. The last witch, I know I haven't covered a lot of witches because there are like tons of different categories, but the last one that I'm going to touch on is the eclectic witch. This is a mixed cauldron of the craft, drawing a little bit from many different types of witches. And you may feel more comfortable being linked to one specific type, but if you find yourself dabbling in a bit from each one or some from, many different categories, then you're definitely eclectic. I am solitary eclectic. You did ask what I was.
Yes.
Yes. So I draw from, let's see. I do work with crystals, a little bit of the cosmic, definitely hedge witch. I obviously am very nature based. I love things in nature. Gray witch, not so much. Kitchen witch, I do infuse witchcraft into my cooking and my baking and my housework when I do it.
Mr. Clean gets rid of dirt and grime and grease in just a minute. Mr. Clean will clean your whole house and everything that's in it. Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
I'm never one to say I'm a great housekeeper. Okay, so definitely a sea witch. Ceremonial, not so much. I'm not much on the big, elaborate ceremonies. I like to do simple. And I also draw from divination witch. I have always been fascinated with divination, tea leaf readings, scrying, and I do work with oracle and tarot cards. I actually do a reading every Sunday. I have a Facebook page, so I'll plug that. It's the Zenden Oracle and Divination, and every Sunday I pull 3 cards from a deck and get you to choose the card that you're drawn to, and then I do a reveal later on that day. So if you want to check that out, please hop on over to the Zenden Oracle and Divination.
Do they have to be your friend to do that?
No, they don't. No, it's a public page. Just search it on Facebook and
Okay, cool.
there I am.
Awesome.
And yeah. And getting back to the hedge witch, I mean, you and I this year have taken on the challenge, except for the Zenden, to become minimalists. And there was a lot of tough love when things were going out the door, but we did it. And our lives, I think, are much better for it.
And this place is looking really bare.
A little bit of echo in the studio.
Yeah.
So anyways, those are just a very short list of different types of witches. I mean, we could sit here for hours and dive into each one in depth, but if there's something else, something that we discussed that you'd like to know more of, I mean, feel free to drop me a line and I can do some research for you, or if you have questions, just ask. I can find the answers. And so having said all of that, one thing that I do want to discuss, now that we've kind of gone through a little bit of the types of witches, is the fact that summer solstice is coming up on June 21st. So on the Wheel of the Year, also known as Litha, it is the longest day and the shortest night, which really sucks for those of us that have to work because most days at work are long and you got to get your beauty sleep, so you don't really want a short night. But it's different ways to celebrate, decorate your home with flowers. You can do sunrise or sunset yoga. You can have a barbecue or a picnic.
Different types of wine.
Hang on, I'm getting to that. Cloud divination. Foods that you can do: honey cakes, citrus fruits, seasonal fruits and vegetables, tea, lemonade. Decorations are mostly seasonal, so butterflies, flowers, seashells, burning candles in the colors of yellow, red, and gold, bees, and sunflowers. I don't recommend that you decorate with real bees, especially if you have allergies. So my first summer solstice celebration, many, many, many moons ago, was at a local garden center. They had a summer solstice celebration. They had a tent set up with a band. They had lights all strung out throughout the garden center. It was really pretty. The band was my husband's band.
Was it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh, I don't really remember because I had lots of wine.
Well, if you didn't play well, none of us knew because we also had lots of wine.
Yeah.
It was hosted by, like I said, local garden center. There was wine and cheese and local fruit wines. And I remember wearing this long, flowy, lacy dress and sandals, and we danced until the wee hours of the morning. And I remember coming home and my feet hurt so much just because I had danced so much. I had a great time. This was my very first celebration. And I think because I had such a fantastic time, summer solstice has become one of my favorite celebrations on the Wheel of the Year. And after a few more glasses of fruity wine, I remember falling head over heels with a gargoyle in the garden center. His name is Benedict. I'll see if I can find a picture of him and post it with the visuals for this and the story that actually goes along with the gargoyle. I actually had intended on purchasing said gargoyle, but we lived in an apartment at the time, and gargoyles are very expensive.
And we kind of fell on some hard times after that.
We did a little bit, yeah. They do have a smaller scale version of Benedict, but I'm a go big or go home kind of girl, so I want the big statue.
Didn't I sprained my ankle, didn't I? The last one that I played?
Yep. Yep. You played with your foot up on a stool.
Yeah, so my memories of that last one, my feet hurt too. the one hurt. Anyways.
Yeah, yours was up because, yours hurt because of the sprain, and mine hurt because I danced my little patootie off.
Yeah, and the sprain was from a gig from the night before, so.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, enjoy your summer solstice. Send me some emails and tell me what your plans are and what you plan on doing, or send along some recipes, share. So now we're going to move on to the botanical segment of the show.
And the time has come for plants to take back the world so rightfully ours.
So the botanical that I have chosen to showcase this time around is vervain. It is known as the herb of enchantment. It's associated with the planet Venus, the element of earth. It is known as the witch's herb. It's a common ingredient in love and protection spells, as well as money and prosperity spells. Any part of the plant can be carried as an amulet, used in purification bath sachets. Vervain is worn to calm the emotions steeped in a tea to soothe you into sleep. You can hang a sachet of vervain near your bed to dispel nightmares. It's very versatile and can be used in any magic to enhance it. And it's best picked at midsummer. I remember actually the first time I was introduced to vervain was during the show The Vampire Diaries. And apparently vervain protects against vampires. I think that's what it was. Vampires or werewolves. I can't remember. I've never had to use it. So
Isn't that an Eric Clapton song? Oh, that's cocaine. Sorry.
We're not showcasing cocaine. I'm so sorry, everyone.
We don't endorse that.
No, we don't endorse that. Okay, so I think now's a good time to move on to the gemstone section of the podcast.
I want to rock.
So the gemstone that I have chosen is hematite. Again, one of my personal favorites. I think they're all my favorites, but I do hematite. I think is like my favorite. It's an iron oxide compound. Its planet is Saturn. Elements are earth and water. It's used for grounding. It's probably the most powerful you can get for grounding and balancing. A dark color used to absorb negative energies in your home. I actually carry hematite with me a lot. You can wear it to give yourself confidence and safety. And used in working with the root chakra, releases emotional blocks that are holding you back. I've seen some beautiful hematite jewelry. And again, you can just go to your local shop, pick up a stone, just carry it with you. And that concludes the gemstone section of the show. And we will be right back after this.
Science fiction.
A world where your imagination has no limits.
And you can explore those limitless boundaries
at sci-fipulse.net. And
check out the SFP Now podcast
on iTunes and Spotify. Because if you are listening to
a really good science fiction podcast, well then,
you're listening to SFP Now.
So now we're going to do the shout out section of the show. Yay! We don't have any shout outs because nobody's sending us anything. So birthdays, anniversaries, events in your area, email me at the maritimewitch@gmail.com and we would love to share. You know what would be really cool? A marriage proposal. Get those marriage proposals in and we'll propose for you on the podcast.
Will you marry me?
Sure.
Cool.
See, that's how easy it is.
Just like that.
Yeah. So anyways, that ends the pathetic little shout out section of the podcast.
It'll be better next week.
Yeah, because we're going to have marriage proposals.
From all the unshy witches.
From all the unshy witches, yes.
I put a spell on you because you're mine.
Well, that brings us to a close for this episode. So I invite you to join me on June 25th. For those of you who voted for the psychic mediums, we will be discussing different psychic mediums, who they are, what they do. And I'm excited to talk about this because I'm on the heels of just having had a reading done. So I'm excited to talk about that. So in the meantime, may the universe find you safe, happy, and healthy. Blessed be.